Good evening and welcome to the T.N.F. I'm trying to find my camera because I've fucking it's all over the shop. I'm just gonna stick here because it's stressing me already. Ignore the mess. We're still dealing with the move because I'm a lazy bastard. I've been in here 4 months now, but it's fine. How we all doing? It's the T.N.F. Slightly different lineup to your usual sort of T.N.F. guys, but of course, this is the show where we pass the keys over to you, the passengers. So please make sure that you get your topics in the comments below, and make sure you put that wee hashtag TNF so we can star them as we go along, so I can make sure we can refer back to them. Yes, thank you very much, Phil.
No worries.
My lovely assistant. As you can see, we've got a different lineup tonight. That's because the judge, Mr. Marc Cairney, he is off on a well-deserved holiday, so hope he enjoys that. But it's all right. We're here to. I made sure that I brought in the big guns like Regan, who's pretty much Mark 2.0 these days, where he likes to throw punches my way. And listen, it's all good. I'm ready to enjoy myself. Before we do all that, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, slag my facial hair. I keep saying these days because of the lack of and more of this. Make sure you become a Boise Bus member for a small fee of $1.99. Of course, it's totally optional. All the content that we provide is absolutely free to watch, listen, enjoy, scrutinise, clip, whatever you want to do with it. But whatever you do, make sure that you tell all your friends about it. It's just a way to, help keep the wheels on the bus. And on the road, of course. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors, piesports.com. You can go to the checkout and put bus 1888 into the checkout, and you get 12.5% off your tasty pasty treats. I am a bit rusty with this, guys. Please forgive me. It's been a good month to properly hosted. I did do a wee post-match push with Terry and yourself, Phil, last week or so. Scan that. I had a wee look at the comments, and I was talking about facial hair slag, and I was getting a lot of Hulk Hogan. Getting a lot of Hulk Hogan references in the comments, Phil. So,
get a t-shirt on.
To play on your part, lads. I'm all right with the Hulk Hogan references. Some of his stuff you can keep to yourself, but there you go. Mr. Hulk Hogan is back on the bus. Phil, how are you getting on? You doing good? Are you doing all right?
Oh, I'm doing great, mate. Just on a quiet week in the world of Scottish football. What could possibly have happened? I mean, I'm expecting a quiet show tonight with no real talking points. So hopefully the viewers keep us going, because what possibly could be going on, So I'm looking forward to it, to be honest, because it has been biblical the last few days. I was saying to Connor before we came on there, I forgot we've even played St Mirren in the last few days. So much has been said about the game before that. Genuinely, I was like, I've not had a chance to talk about the Rangers game yet. I was like, wait a minute. We played St Mirren as well. It's been that, just rife with just constant. Every time you go on Twitter, refresh your Twitter feed, there's another quote, tweet, another one, another thing you read and just laugh at. So, yes, I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about that tonight.
Regan, it's been a while, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. I've not been on the bus in ages, but happy New Year to everybody on the bus. And
yes,
2024's here. It's just good to be back with you guys again. So, no, I'm glad to be on. Thanks for having me again.
You got yourself a new setup as well. You were professional, mate. Proper professional.
A brand new mic for this. So
excellent. At least it's plugged in, mate. I spent the whole last show I was on talking into this microphone wasn't even plugged in. Dear. And of course, Mr. Controversial Connor Carr, you doing good, mate? You all right?
I'm good. It's been a good start to the new year. I know that I like it. I think I'll have a good few talking points tonight for myself, let's just say the least, because there's this halo above my head for the light behind me suggesting I think we've been blessed with the meltdowns this past couple of weeks. This past week it's been absolutely lovely. It's been a rare treat, so I think we'll get stuck into that.
Well, there's plenty to discuss. We're saying Phil is expansive coming on T.N.F. tonight. He's like, I've not had my say on carry on that's been going on, because what a carry on. I mean, I've been unwell over the last week, right? And I managed to catch the the derby. I was able to lift my head off the pillow, but even that was struggling to lift my spirits. Although it's the meltdown that's been happening. That's started to really make me feel a lot better because it's some entertainment and reading, to say the least. Phil, let's talk about the game quickly because we've not had a chance, the four of us together, to discuss the game. I know we've had a game since then, but I think we'll
Yep.
talk about the Rangers game. You were at the game there. Enjoy yourself, mate. Anything happen?
Anything? Yeah, it was fantastic, mate. From minute one, the atmosphere was bouncing, which it needed to be, because you think back to the blueprint of the game in February 2022, where the atmosphere was intense all night, and I think Rangers were spooked by that. And yeah, the first half, it was pretty much a barrage from us. They got a couple of wee half chances, which was just down to mistakes from us. It wasn't anything good that they did, but the goals that we scored as well on the day. I mean, Bernardo, when you actually watch it back again, how he generates that much power. He doesn't even run at the ball. He's basically from a standing start. Just pulls his leg back and puts his laces through it. It's an absolute net buster. It's one of the ones I think even if Butland had got in the way, I don't think he'd have much chance of saving it. And of course, the second goal, when you go in at half time, you're like 1-0 and you're like, oh, it's a wee bit nervy. Ideally, you try to get an early goal second half and that will really, put it to bed. And 2 minutes into the second half, what unbelievable goal. I mean, I sit down that lower jock steer end, so I'm behind that goal. And my first thought when I saw it from Kyogo was I thought it had nicked off a Rangers defender on the way in, because the way it sort of flew up into the corner, and Goldson or Balogun slide in front of him at the last second. But when you see the replay, they showed it on the screens in the stadium, and you see it was in clean contact. It was just right at the top end. It was an absolutely perfect goal. And yeah, what a way to announce, he's back essentially, because a lot of doubts over him after, one goal in 12 games or something, 13 games. And to do that, to produce that sort of magic was phenomenal. And at that point, 2-0, and they get a man sent off in about 70 minutes. I felt like it could have been whatever we wanted it to be, but we dropped off a little bit after the substitutions. Obviously, they got a goal back late on, which fair enough. It was a decent free kick from Tavernier. It was that. But ultimately, we thoroughly deserved to win. Probably should have won it by more. But the whole point of it was to get the 3 points anyway. That's all that mattered. If we'd done it 1-0, 5-0, whatever, we got there in the end. And yeah, phenomenal day. Phenomenal day to say the least.
Regan, one thing that I do enjoy every derby day is it's just going through Facebook of all the Rangers supporting Facebook friends that I didn't realise that I had. They don't seem to appear until this particular day, and it's just images of Ryan Kent punching Scott Brown and all these other events that happened in games that they lost, giving it all battle fever and all this stuff into them. And I mean, it's entertaining reading because you don't see much after the game. I do always enjoy that part of the derby. It's just the blind faith that they have. Now, fair enough, like we're all going to support our club and back them, but this sort of crazy sort of confidence that comes up in every derby.
Yeah.
And then we have, for some reason, us fans, we have this almost nervy feeling of like, oh, we're going to get beat today. And then by the time the game's finished, they're licking their wounds going, no, again. And we're going, what was I worried about? Is that how you felt after the game? Because again, I almost felt stupid doubting that we were going to be like, you almost forget that. You know what? It's us that have dropped the points and closed the gap. They didn't do anything to close the gap. We dropped the ball. And then when they finally played us, again, it was just a slap them back down and like, listen, we fucked up, but we'll sort it. And it was a good backhand by the captain and all the boys on the pitch on Sunday.
David, I think that's a good point you make in terms of, see, if you look at the last two matches against Rangers, David, Rangers have been the favourites going into the game. And I don't know if that's driven by the Scottish media, like actually getting Celtic fans into a frenzy. And Brendan Rodgers actually mentioned after the game, he said, I've been up against 5 Rangers managers. Every single time, they've been the favourites to do something. You go back to that Joey Barton game, Rangers were the favourites then by the media. Celtic won 5-1. And the same thing happened in the first that derby game that Brendan Rodgers did in when Kyogo scored. If you remember, Rangers actually blamed the Dessers chance from Liga Bielka when Liga Bielka slipped from a tackle from Dessers and then he scored. They actually blamed it on that game. So this is not just one isolation incident. The exact same thing happened last season when Alfredo Morelos scored from a corner, but he was holding Alistair Johnson. In that game, Rangers were the favourites in that game. So I don't know if it's just the Scottish media know Celtic are the better team, but they're trying to make it into more of a contest and make them believe that they're better than they are. Because I'm watching the Celtic Rangers game actually play itself out, and I thought Celtic played very well. I mean, I was at the stadium and as Phil said, Celtic could have scored after 2 minutes through Bernardo from a shot, and then after 10 minutes, Bernardo has a free header from a corner, which he probably should have scored, and then he scores that goal right after the 24th minute. So you look at that time, Celtic could have been 2-0 up even before they scored that goal. And Brendan Rodgers actually said this himself. He said, see when Celtic went 2-0 up, that's when Celtic should have scored a lot more goals, but we sat back. And then Greg Taylor was shooting the ball in at Mikey Johnson for not tracking back, and then the whole thing just exploded. Because that would have been typical Celtic, dominating the game and not being that clinical in front of goal. But I thought overall, I mean, if you looked at from the terrible game at Rugby Park, terrible game against Stephen A. Smith, when Franklin scored the 2 goals, but see when you look at the last 4 games, I think you need to say these players have really shown up, and Brendan Rodgers really showed up as well, because I think there was a lot of pressure. There was so much pressure. I don't know if the Celtic supporters are maybe we've been too hard on the players because we've actually bought into all this media hype, because maybe this. All we needed to do was settle down and get our players back.
Nah, dude, Regan, some of the players weren't shining themselves in a good light. I think they were. I don't think it was unfair to criticise a lot of the performances and the build-up to the game. Being honest, there was a lot of guys that weren't turning up that we know can do better, captain included. However, of course, he answered those criticisms, Connor, at the game with arguably one of, if not his best performance in a Celtic shirt against Rangers. Obviously, Todd Cantwell, there was clearly a tactic, a very poor tactic, deployed to stop or nullify the captain with TikTok Todd, which he seems to be getting a lot of. That seems to be his nickname these days. And well, he won't have much highlights to put on his TikTok after that game, other than him being left for dust by the captain. He can get near him. Of course, another big player that always turns up against Rangers, Connor, is Kyogo himself. 7 goals in a calendar year against him, the only player to do that. So, yep, Regan's right. The players did turn up on Saturday there, and looks like they have been now. Looks like they're maybe onto something now, tidying up their own mess, as Ian McIntosh said earlier. But no, I do think the criticism on some of the players, if not a lot of the players, has been fair. Connor, would you agree with me there?
There's been a real lack of consistency this season, especially in some of the players that we do look to be pretty consistent over the season, like McGregor, like Kyogo. So I think them being big game players and turning up is what we've really needed. I just think it's really important that we've got that. I think that is the difference between us and them, really. I know we've got a much better manager who isn't, a whiny, baldy fucking dick. And, we've actually got decent players and players who can defend, players who can score goals that aren't set pieces. But at the end of the day, we've got a bit of belief and we've got players who have been in these situations before and who know what it is to win these games and really step up to the plate when the time calls for it, even if their form hasn't necessarily, led you to believe anything in terms of that. So it's, I think it is really, really important that we highlight that, because Kyogo, time and time again, just in these situations, just pops up. That's, all these big games he scored, I think 7 goals against them in a calendar year. I think that's the new record now. He's broke that. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100%. I could be wrong. Callum McGregor showed, he's been getting a lot of criticism this season. I think rightly so from a lot of us, most of us on the pod. He just stepped up and he just absolutely bossed that game. Him, O'Reilly, and Bernardo just absolutely ran that midfield. Their midfield was absolutely anonymous. They kept saying, after the game, we'll build the team around somebody called Sterling. I'm like, I didn't even know he was playing. I did not know who that boy was until you started putting pictures in after the game. Aye, I know, getting these fucking nose cracked. There's no, wanting audio or reruns or anything about the situations where you've literally hit a player in the face so hard when all you're doing is turning to pass a ball that you've hurt his nose so much that he's pissing blood for about 40 minutes consistently. But I think we just on the opposite end of the spectrum, I think Celtic are kind of club to just kind of go and lick our wounds and kind of almost like roll over to these decisions that get made that we don't get any explanations for. But we'll talk about more of that later. But Kyogo, man, I know he's not going to be scoring consistently. He has been missing sitters. I just think at the end of the day, like, he just turns up in these big games, and it's really, really good to see that he's not lost that bit of belief in himself, because it could be very easy for a player, top scorer last season, he's getting, Shankland right now is the clear and obvious top goal scorer, even though a lot of them are penalties, but he could lose confidence that he could say, what's wrong with me this season? I have no idea why I'm not scoring as much. I'm missing chances I would have buried 6 months ago, 7 months ago. So I think it's good to see that he's still, well within his own head, and good that he can still see he's got, he is the best striker in this fucking league by a country mile. I mean, I know that fucking troglodyte Chris Boyd is saying that Lawrence Shankland's a better finisher than Kyogo. He's fucking not. So Lawrence Shankland can only dream of scoring a goal like what Kyogo scored in the derby the other week. Could only dream of it.
Of course, there was a lot of discussion points, so much so that it's been taken to a meeting with the SFA in 24 hours, which we will get on to discussing that.
David, can I just add something about the Callum McGregor chat? There was a moment in the first half, something that Mark has been particular calling out for on this show, week in, week out, regarding McGregor. I don't even remember this, but just before, maybe about 43 minutes, McGregor went in for a tackle on a Rangers player out wide right, and it looks like he wins the ball and it goes out for a throw-in. So they get a free kick from it, and McGregor properly gets stuck into the linesman for it, like goes over and gives him an earful. And it's like, you've not seen that really from McGregor. What's the thing that Mark's been always talking about? He says he wants to see that there. Get in the referee's face. When we do get a decision that we feel hard done by, challenge them. We want to do it enough. There was moments during that game where Cantwell was walking and going up to the ref and saying, he's made 4 fouls and stuff. And then there was one they were lining up a free kick at the halfway line, and Balogun was right over in the referee's ear. And again, it's like, we don't do enough of that. We don't try and, get in about the refereeing that. So I saw McGregor doing that the last Saturday. I was like, okay, that's what I want to see. And yeah, he dominated the game. He bossed it. So it was good to see him have that side to him, because I was starting to doubt, has he got that in him, to show a bit of aggression on the park, and challenge them. Because, yeah, it was a ridiculous decision, because even from where I was sitting, it looked like he won the ball. But they flagged right away, linesman with the flag up, and he was over just giving him it to him, just like, no chance, ref. I
mean, I heard that the judge was in Carl McGregor's DMs the night before getting him tell. That's my only logical explanation as to why that just suddenly started happening. Okay, obviously there was a major talking point in the game. And of course, that was the alleged handball, we'll call it, right?
Yes.
Right. My honest answer was, I thought we got away with it, right? Now, this was obviously before I hadn't noticed the offside. Willie Collum hadn't told me about the offside. At the time, I was like, we've got away with that one there. Because at every angle, you see it strike his ball. Now, I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are on it. So I just want to quickly ask. Now, just give me a handball or no handball answer just now, right? Phil, was it handball?
Handball.
Was it handball for you, Regan?
I do think it was, yeah, David. Yep.
Connor, was it handball?
Aye, even Stevie Wonder could see that was a handball.
Well, it doesn't fucking matter because it was offside, right? So fucking get it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Alistair Johnson could have picked that thing and dribbled it out like it was Michael Jordan. It wouldn't have mattered. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So, aye, and I mean, and that's the crux of it, right? I can understand their frustrations, right? The communication was perhaps poor. However, is it? My question there is it really the referee's priority to tell the commentary team what's going on? Because I'm sure at that time it's a high pressure cooker situation to be in. A handball, which I think from what we've seen, or what Rangers have released today or yesterday, is that Willie Collum still didn't deem it a handball, whether it was to do with the natural and unnatural ball position, etc. However, that end of the day, whether he thought it was a handball or not, that's where VAR steps in and goes, Willie, we want you to check that. We think there might be a handball there. Right, we're going to do that. Oh, right, we'll check that phase. All right, okay. Seema's offside. Right, golden. Right, well, we don't need to do anything. That's pretty much the crux of it. From my understanding, much more dumbed down version, I know. However, that seems to be the crux of it. However, they're like a duck with a bone when it comes to a decision that didn't go their way. And of course, they've taken it straight to the SFA. This is a statement. The club has confirmed that the Chiefs today met with the SFA officials to discuss the incident where Alistair Johnson handled the ball inside Celtic's box during the first half of the game. VR reviewed the situation, but Willie Collum advised that on-field referee Nick Walsh waved play on, as it was later suggested that there had been an offside, in the body of the handball. Now, they're obviously wanting to have the audio released. They're wanting to have the referees all decided for them. So if that's the case, I would like, and I want to thank a former Boise Bus member, Steve O'Matt, for this, but I would like some audio discussion brought up about all these incidents. I'd like to know why Goldson's getting to play volleyball in the box there against us.
He features a lot in these pictures, by the way. That's interesting.
He's quite the basketball player and volleyball player and whatever other sport you use your hands in. He seems to be quite good at that. Are we going to start questioning where the audio is for the decision making in these situations, Regan? Because I don't recall that ever being a situation where we've had to go, here, hold on a minute. He handled the ball in the box. Why was that decision not made? Oh, this is reasons why. All right, cool. Can we hear the audio of that, please? For you to come to that decision. By the way, majority of those decisions, I would say, were wrong. The one decision to hear the audio of was correct.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe, David, if the audio does get released, I do believe that Rangers should be getting some sort of punishment for this, because for me, David, they're bringing the game into the disrepute here, because every single club could go back and say, we want the audio for this decision. What about all the decisions where Rangers got a penalty to make it 2-0 at the Tony Macaroni Arena when Ross McCausland dived, and then the referee said it wasn't a clear and obvious error. So they still won the penalty. I mean, you can go and say any game. It's not just about Rangers here. It's about the overall Scottish football. I bet there's been so many incidents where a Motherwell fan, a St Mirren fan, is going to bring the whole game into disrepute. And I tell you one thing, I do feel sorry for. I feel sorry for the VAR in one case here, because I think he's been I think he's been victimised by Rangers again. You know that this is a guy that was really, really let down by Rangers a couple of years ago. He he awarded Steve Clark's side a penalty, and then he got banned from Rangers matches for about 2 years. You know what are we going to do? You're not able to do that.
Where do you draw the line, Regan? Where do you draw the line, mate?
Yeah,
I mean, if you start allowing Rangers to dictate who is in charge of their games, well, I mean, where do you draw the line? Because we could say, oh, listen, we didn't want such and such because we feel such and such. You know, it's like, well, sorry, but you can't. Oh well, about Rangers on and what they call them.
David, and that's me from a human being perspective here. You're telling me that if Nick Walsh, see if he comes into a Rangers game next, he's going to be scared to give a decision against Rangers because he's going to go, am I going to be headline news in the papers? Is my family going to be okay? I'm just saying it from a totally human level here, David. But I'm thinking it's not good for the referees, but it's also not good for Scottish football either. And it's an absolute mess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, I know a lot of us have been on this podcast. We've talked about referees, but in this instance, I do really feel sorry for the referees in terms of what do they do now? Rangers have put so much pressure on them that they're going to be scared. They're going to be scared now to play a match against Rangers because they know that they're going to be in the spotlight, and Rangers are putting every pressure they can on them. You know, and it's there for everyone to see. When you look back to Barry Robson said that during the cup final, and people were complaining. He said it just feels as if everything went against us today. But then I just feel for every other manager who's then got this to deal with because they'll go, right, well, clearly, if this is going to happen, then as Flo said, then where do you draw the line?
Mm-hmm.
Connor, we Celtic fans, and I think a lot of other Scottish football fans, have been trying to call out the incompetence of referees for many seasons, especially in the last few, particularly for the reasons of the images that I brought up earlier. And we've been called paranoid. We've been called all sorts of things, right? Now, there was plenty of other incidents in that game that's not been discussed about because of this one incident that's been completely focused on. But there's been no mention of the clear penalty, the wrong penalty decision against David Turnbull.
Yes, on David Tavernier, yes.
Yep. And then, of course, an offside flag went up on that, which wasn't correct, by the way. There's subjective, I suppose, depending on what colour of shirt you want to wear. In the Goldson and Bernardo incident, where a lot of Rangers fans and the manager believe that Bernardo should have been sent off for a second offence. However, if you watch, I mean, at first I thought he was a lucky boy, but then when I watched it again, I thought, hold on a minute, Goldson's went right over the top of him.
Mm-hmm.
And left the leg in, and it's Bernardo sitting there like, and then it's of course.
This is the thing with Connor Goldson, right? Connor Goldson is since Kent's left and Morelos, he's the biggest cheat in this league. Him and Cantwell and that McCausland now as well. They've got the three biggest cheats in Scottish football. Genuinely, Connor Goldson, right? He's about 6'3", 6'4". He's fucking built like the side of an oil tanker. But every time, a tiny wee winner runs into him or something like that, or skins past him and manages to barge him out the way, he's rolling around clutching, fucking try to put a fucking tampon in because he's rolling about like a wee blouse. Connor Goldson does this all the time, right? He comes right across, right? And he can't freeze frame all these things because it makes it look worse. But when you slow it down and you look at it, Goldson goes right over the top and goes studs up into Bernardo's shin, which would be a red tackle in of itself. But because as Bernardo's being fouled on the way, it kind of doubles over and his body makes contact with Goldson, who is kind of going back, and he then falls falls down, clutching, screaming, all the rest of it. And because he's made that, pantomime of it, then the decisions went in his favour, essentially being at the foul, where it's not. David Turnbull gets just wiped out of the box, just shoved off the ball, 2 hands in the back. He's onside a mile. That's not, reviewed by VAR at all. That is a clear and obvious error. It wasn't offside. The penalty should have been given. There was nothing subjective in that at all. It was clear as day. And these arseholes have got the absolute brass neck, right, to be saying they've been cheated. The tinfoil sashes are well and truly out, lads, because this is the stuff I've seen recently where they're calling that this all stems back for the Pope's visit to Bellhouston Park in the 1980s about getting Catholics. Watch, I'll read this to you now. I saved some of my favourite quotes, right, just because I knew it would be coming on, so I wanted to get a wee catalogue of it, right? This is from Derek Park Bear. With a bunch of Israeli and Union Jacks in their bio, so you know what they're about.
Standard.
Bellhouston Park, 1982. Since then, they've corrupted all levels of Scottish society and are out to fully destroy us. This doesn't end with Colum. It starts with him. Hound him out of a job. Enough is enough. It is cause and effect. The Pope told people to go out and into many influential positions in Scottish society, and they've flooded legal, media, local government, football, the list goes on. You're only interested in saying there's no agenda as you're a beneficiary. What the fuck what are these people smoking? It's ridiculous. It's so funny. Because
so when he's tracing this back to 1982, the 1990s happened after that, where they absolutely
exactly. So
ragdolled us.
The Pope's going to
that doesn't go with his agenda.
Doesn't fit the narrative. I know. Sorry.
Shite job. They're even wanting. Was it they're wanting the Houses of Parliament and that burnt down and that. They're wanting protests through the streets of Glasgow, and you're like, what is this? This is it's like a child, right? An absolute spoiled, rotten child who gets everything they want all the time. They're the darling child, and then the wee skinny child who's doing a wee bit better for himself now gets, a chocolate coin of somebody. And they start greeting like, mummy, why has he gotten something I've not got? I want it as well. You're just like, oh my God, fucking shut up. Seriously. Honestly. The meltdown has been so glorious, right? Because for years, you are paranoid. You think there's an agenda against you, despite the fact that since before that game against Kilmarnock, they were on for a world record for the penalties not conceded in the league matches. It was going on for 75, and now they're giving it, you can't complain now, we've conceded one in the league. You're like, aye, but that doesn't account for the 74 games beforehand where he's never conceded a fucking penalty, despite the fact that Conor Goldson was doing his best Shaquille O'Neal impression in the box at Ibrox, and Celtic were playing him last season. Do you know what I mean? It's ludicrous, all this stuff, and it's really, really funny. But I think it just goes to show what we're up against. They're essentially they're begging for referees who align with them, as if there's not already enough of them. There was clips coming out because Willie Collin was talking about where he got brought up. He's saying, I got brought up in the East End of Glasgow, and they're like, that means he's a Celtic fan. I don't think it does, considering I've been brought up and I live in one of the most staunchest areas in West Lothian. The fact is, the fucking local Chinese is called the Orange Walk, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter where you get brought up or what team you support. It just matters. None of that matters. They want all these outside mitigating factors to all conjoin themselves and come into this cascade of, the unseen Catholic hand and all the rest of it. It's ridiculous. These people they're mentally ill. They're mentally ill. They've got official media partners, right? We're official media partners for Rangers, right? Coming out and saying, Willie Collins a cheat. He's been cheating us for years. Sack him. The SFA lied. They lied. If that was one of, if that's the rules are reversed right now, we would have the book thrown at us. We complained about refereeing before, and they went on a refereeing strike, and we got absolute mountains of shit for it. But we were correct. The referees, and by the way, nobody's trying to stick up for the referees in this situation necessarily. Celtic fans still, after that game at the weekend, believe the referees are inept, they're not good at their job, and there is still a clear bias there. The fact is, you've got a referee in John Beaton who goes to Orange Lodges and goes to Rangers bars and all the rest of it. You've got Andrew Dallas, who's Hugh Dallas's son, working in the refereeing system, who was sending emails and messages of like effigies of the Pope and stuff like that, sectarian stuff. So what the evidence has been mounting for years in our favour. A couple of decisions against them, and it's it's pandemonium. The walls are collapsing all around them. The big house is coming down. It's bizarre. It's quite frankly, it's quite scary to think that we live among these people. We walk past them every single day on the street, and they could be sitting in their house typing up all this garbage on Twitter, forwarding into Clyde Super Scoreboard, saying all this shit, this absolute just verbal diarrhea emanating from their gub. And you're like, Jesus Christ. And what more do they want? They were allowed to cheat for years. They cheated the tax man. They were betting players they couldn't afford. They get to keep all their titles from when they cheated before. What more do these people want? Seriously. Do they just want an entire system full of Rangers supporters and Rangers men? I mean, it's a hypothetical, a thing with question, because you know the answer is yes. That's what they want. All they want is everything to go in their favour, even more so than it is now. And watch what happens from now on to the end of the season. This is going to get, I can tell you right now, this could get bad for us, because they've cemented their victimhood status so thoroughly now that if there's any game that's on a knife's edge again, then we could potentially get a decision. We won't get it, and they could get a decision that's a bit dubious. They'll get it, guaranteed.
Well, time will tell. Right, let's move on. Let's take the keys off you, Connor. Right, and so I can give them to the passengers. Right, so I'll just take them off you, but just right. So we've got 3 questions to start. Now, remember, you've got 20 minutes to kill here. So if you want to get some topics in that we haven't discussed yet, put in hashtag T.N.F. Now, the first one I want to bring up is from Ali. Boys, you must remember that is Ali. Good to have you on, mate. So he says, hashtag T.N.F. Does the panel think that we will pay $6 million for Bernardo now that he is starting to show that he has what it takes to be a Celtic player, or will he return to Benfica? Well, there was reports came out today that we don't have an obligation to buy. However, he's got a buyout clause in his contract. So of course, like you say, we have to decide whether the club have to decide whether they feel that the £6 million plus whatever they've already paid in a loan fee is going to be worth it for Bernardo. Quickly, my opinion on it would be, I think now that we're starting to see him getting a run of games, we're starting to see what he is capable of in a Celtic shirt. I think we were all rather a bit confused as to why is this guy getting all the Champions League games, but we're not seeing him domestically. What is it that's preventing him from playing domestically? Still don't know what that reason was. I think it's even more baffling now, starting to see him getting into the team. I think personally, not confident that we're going to keep Matt O'Reilly in the summer. I think we'll get through January, but I don't think we'll keep him in the summer. So personally, I think we've got a ready-made replacement there that have been in the club for a season, who will have settled in by now, and hopefully, going from what we've seen in the last 4 or 5 games in a row, that he is, this is the sort of level of player that we're getting, and of course will progress under Brendan and playing at Celtic. I think it would be a no-brainer to send him. If it's a £6 million buyout clause, we're always going on about, like, if you sell a player for 25 million, Why are we not replacing him with, say, another £6 million player? Well, I think that's a perfect example there. I don't want to get carried away because obviously it's only been a few games that we've seen him, Phil. But we're now really starting to see perhaps the player that we thought we were getting when we signed him in the summer. You know, when we did that transfer deadline day show.
Yeah, that's right. We'll do it again in January, I'm sure.
We did do it. I'm sure we'll get the Yale ties. We'll get. We did a deep dive into as much as a deep dive as we could of the player, and he seems a bit of a sort of an all-rounded midfielder, a box-to-box player that hopefully would bring that sort of Benfica youth system style prodigy that we thought we'd get, and we're starting to see that, Phil. So personally, I would. Would you?
At the moment, yeah, I'm leaning towards it. Don't want to get too carried away because we have got some tricky games coming up. Obviously, when we're through the January break, I believe we've got a trip to Easter Road and Pataudry in the very near future, sort of like February time. So those are going to be tricky ones. It did answer a few questions. The first one being that if Hatate's not available and if he's injured, which he has been, we now know who needs to start in that midfield position because so far we've been playing musical chairs with that one, where it's been rotated around, and it's also pretty much put it to bed that David Turnbull cannot be starting games for us. He's just too slow, and if it's talk as well that he is running down his contract and leaving at the end of the season, then I don't see why Turnbull should get any more game time now other than a fleeting substitute appearance. I said earlier on, I was talking about the game, did you not feel that the tide changed a wee bit when we took Bernardo off? So when Turnbull and that did so it's like Bernardo needs to play. He's probably the closest thing in terms of like ability to Hatate that we've got at the moment. Home is still an unknown quantity, so I would definitely be utilising him if he continues this run of form. They say we don't know how long Hatate's going to be away. So how long is this Asian Cup meant to last? Is it well into February it's going to be? Or is it...
February.
Yeah, and you'd expect Japan to do pretty well in it. So Hatate's going to be away for a while. So Bernardo's going to need to start these games. And if he keeps it going, then by all means, we'll see at the end of the season how it goes. But at the moment, the signs look not too bad on that one, I would say. What about you, Vegan? How are you feeling about Bernardo? Are you leaning towards yes, no, or still somewhere in the middle just now?
I was listening to Terry and Russell this morning, Phil, and I think what Terry was saying was quite balanced on it, saying that one game ago people were saying that we don't think we'll sign Bernardo, so we can't go off tune now and say we're going to sign him, because one game ago we're going into the Rangers game and we're thinking we're not going to sign this guy. So I think it's all about game by game basis and see if we can do it more often. I think sometimes in these big games you can get overdrawn and go, oh, well, Bernardo scored against Rangers, so he's a good player. Yes, he probably is a good player, Phil, but I want to see it on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
So, but I still do think the £6 million would be a kind of no-brainer, because £6 million these days is not a lot of money. And as we know,
to the Celtic board, that is Peter Lawwell will be having a fit at that idea. Like, what? £6 million? No.
As Peter Lawwell says, Celtic are cash rich. He said that in a Celtic video to the channel. So I'm sure Peter Lawwell will be looking at his wallet and seeing the cobwebs come off it. But I'm sure he'll be hoping that he will be able to spend it. But like I say, time will tell, because I want to see it on a more regular basis from Bernardo, because I think Terry was bang on what he was saying last night in terms of 2 games ago. People were saying that they don't think Bernardo will be here for much longer. But I think you made a good point about 2 or 3 minutes ago about David Turnbull. I do think David Turnbull will go in January, David, and I do think we'll sign another midfielder, because for me, I think Brendan Rodgers knows that he's no up to playing his football, and he needs somebody a little bit more dynamic, I would say, that can move the ball quicker. Because I think, see the Hearts game, David Turnbull started that game, and I felt overall the squad was very slow. But I think, see if you look at Bernardo and Rio Hatate and Matt O'Reilly, they move the ball very quickly, which I think helped Celtic on Saturday as much. Because see if you move players quickly, then it takes them very hard to get in position. So I do think David Turnbull will be off in January.
Well, Celtic board will want to make some kind of money on him because we're all about making money, it seems. So the idea of him walking away for nothing, it wouldn't surprise me if they do try to get a suitor. Because I think when you look at the style of play, he don't fit right now.
See when he sees somebody like Lewis Ferguson, though, and he sees the Italian football, the fact that Lewis Ferguson's become the biggest goal scorer for a Scottish player in Serie A, he's probably thinking to himself, that'd be something that I possibly could enjoy, because
it's perfect for him.
Yeah, because he's a bit of a slow player, and I watched a bit of Serie A for like you, and it's a kind of slow league, so maybe that would suit him well.
It should. There was a link a few weeks back, wasn't there? I think, David, you were talking about it on a Sunday Blether. It was like this. Was it Juventus or something? Or was it Milan? Or one?
Interested in him, apparently.
Yeah, like what? But you never know. A few Scottish players have landed there in recent times, so you never know. But yeah, I don't see it with us.
Well, let's move on to another topic here. So, I like this one here from Danish. Sorry, does it Danish Mosen?
Danish.
T.N.F. Hashtag T.N.F. Does the panel think with Kyogo not going to the Asia Cup, it will influence the board in getting a striker in? Connor, I'll let you start with that one.
I mean, it shouldn't it? Like, if anything, it should, tell us to get another striker and be more looking to do that, because O's away and Maeda's away. The other two players in our team that could play as a striker, it's really it's quite worrying that we can almost imagine a scenario where the Celtic board would be like, Kyogo's no away. Do we get another striker in? Yeah. But I do think it has been reported, even after the summer transfer window, that Brendan Rodgers is really, really keen on getting a striker in. It's been reported multiple times from multiple sources. I think maybe even he's mentioned it as well. I mean, he just randomly complimented Lon Shankland the other day in an interview, just talking about how impressive he's been, and we're obviously getting linked with signing him, and we've been linked with signing Bojan Miovski and the Thingweed's son. I'm blanking now. Van Hooydonk's son, and the Kivgatson, I think his name is.
The Danish striker for Brøndby. Aye.
So we've been getting linked with that many strikers. I think the proofs in the pudding. I think we're definitely been going in for a striker. This
Am I right in saying that the Asian Cup's every year? So no,
I don't think so. No.
No.
Every 2 year.
I can't imagine.
Because we were worried about them going off to the Asian Cup, or was it the World Cup?
It may be
World Cup.
World Cup was last year, so
But the World Cup, and you've got the Asian Cup every couple of years.
The African Cup of Nations is on as well this month at the same time. I don't think we're affected by that one. But
the point I'm making is, let's say, for argument's sake, O becomes this spectacular striker that we all wish he would bloody hurry up and become, right? And he obviously is a young boy. If we keep him for a while, then we're going to have this endless cycle until the Asian players leave. We're going to have this issue all the time. So personally, I think the board will recognise that. If they don't, Brendan's surely pointing it out to them. Look, we need another striker. O's away. We can't rely on Kyogo. His shoulders hanging on by a thread all the time, by the way. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, true.
Okay, he's not going to the Asian Cup anymore. That's great for us. But you've seen the tackles that boy takes every week. We've seen him get stretched off after a head collision because the bigger boy's just going through him. You've seen the types of tackles that just knock him to the ground, can cause his shoulder to look like it pops out. We're on a knife edge here that we could end up without a striker, regardless whether he's at the Asian Cup or not. So there has to be a striker coming in. Yes, we're being linked with Miovski. Yes, we're now potentially being linked with Shankland. I welcome either, by the way, whether they are the long term or the next level of striker that we need. Perhaps time will tell with Miovski. Shankland, I'm not too sure about. However, he is only 28. Whether they're the long-term goal or short-term goal, I would welcome either. Phil, goal scorers. They're not the the big sexy £6 million strikers that were or £10 million strikers that we're asking for. However, we do know that they can score goals in this league, and that's all we're focusing on at the minute, and that's what we need to make sure that we're focusing on winning to get us into the promised land of this new Champions League. Phil, striker coming in, yes or no?
Oh, huge yes, a resounding yes. We said it in the summer, and still the same now. It needs to happen because we've got Kyogo and O, and that's about it. Because the Maeda thing, for a few and I were talking about this over a wee game of FIFA in the summer. Brendan Rodgers was playing Maeda as a striker in the pre-season game, so you thought, well, that might be a plan. He hasn't utilised it in any competitive games, so it looks like whatever that plan was completely gets scrapped. So he's not going for that. So it's definitely something that we need to do. Because if Kyogo gets injured, would you trust O to do what Giakoumakis did a couple of years ago and lead the line for like 13, 14 games in the run-in? Because that's what Giakoumakis. I wouldn't trust O at the moment. I still feel that there's something there with him. I still think he's too raw at the moment. And also when you're saying about, Majowski and Shankland, I would welcome either of them because I think we make a lot of chances that I think they would benefit from it. But you're saying about they're not the big sort of sexy signings at 6 million and stuff. Well, see if this Vistgarden one's to be true. Remember what the price was for him?
6 million.
6 million. But most people look at him, his age, his record, the league he's coming from, and go, "Oh, that's a project player. We've just spent 6 million on him." So it's hard to try and get. What do you actually want? Because we can't go out and sign top Premier League players, from down south. We can't. We're going to have to rely on squad players or players we have to take a punt on. But it's Majowski and Shankland, though, we know what they can do in this league. If I had to pick one, though, I would say Majowski still, because there is more room for growth in that one. He's 24. And I think he's doing pretty well. He's scored in the Conference League as well. He seems to enjoy a goal against Rangers, I've noticed, over the couple of years that he's been at Aberdeen. So that's always handy. But he'd probably the one I would lean to. But ultimately, though, we do need to get another forward option in January. It is a must.
And I think as well, David, I was on you guys on Sunday, and we spoke about this during the summer as well. Brendan Rodgers has not really put his stamp on this squad either. So, and Brendan Rodgers said after the transfer window, he was looking at 4 quality signings and he never got any of them. So when you look at Brendan Rodgers, he's not really put his stamp on this team. And I'm calling this January. This is the time for Brendan to put his authority on this team, because if there's another time to back a manager when they're going to get the biggest windfall for being the champions of Scotland, when everybody sees that their points need to be addressed, okay, the last 3 wins might paper over some cracks, but we've been saying for months, David, on the Sunday Blether, that Burnaby's not good enough, that O is a project player that he can't be relied on. And we've said that Celtic need another midfield player. So obviously these are things that Brendan Rodgers has seen as well. I want to get you guys' thoughts on what do you make of this thing that Brendan Rodgers is keeping an eye on Scott McKenna? Because he was someone that Brendan Rodgers identified along with John McGinn when Celtic won, because Scott McKenna was heading off to Aston Villa for £6 million, remember? And then Celtic put the same bid in, but he decided to stay at Aberdeen for 1 more year because they wanted more money from clubs.
I don't think he's one to be sniffed at.
Aye. He's done all right in Nottingham Forest. They came up and they like him down there. But this is a dilemma we've also got about the whole UEFA thing, homegrown players. Because often when we've had shows in the last few months talking about transfers, when we bring up names, a lot of people in the chat always say about the homegrown thing. So then you see somebody like McKenna, and then but not that homegrown guy. So it's like you just can't win with a lot of battles. But I can understand some concern from fans. They look at guys like Shane Duffy, who was a proven Premier League defender at that level, a sort of lower end team like Nottingham Forest or Brighton were at that time, came up here and we saw what happened with Duffy.
McKenna's got a lot of different attributes to what Duffy has the way. Like McKenna's got a bit of pace to burn. He's played in the league before. which is, I know it's such a cliche to say that, but I mean, at the end of the day, you can't get away from it. He has. Look, he's not, for me, he's not one of me sniffed that. I wouldn't turn my nose up at Scott McKenna, but because I don't feel it's a position that I'm overly concerned about. Cameron Carter-Vickers thing, obviously, he's always going to be the main man. His injury concerns are beginning to become a concern. I think the emergence of Scales, I think we're maybe past the point where you can say he's doing good for Liam Scales. Like, he's just doing good. I think it's a player that Brendan's worked his magic on, and it's going to get better. Yes, he's got his deficiencies. However, he's stepped up, and right now nobody seems to be taking the shot off him. Naroki,
I did like looking at Saturday.
Naroki was never good enough. I don't get it, because I mean, he was out of the team because he got injured. There was none of this. He's pish come. He got injured and then we didn't see him again. And I mean, it's come to light now. Brendan's saying that he's had a bunch of niggling injuries that's prevented from getting him back in the team. It's not a position that I'm wanting to strengthen. Like, I don't want to prioritise centre back. I want to prioritise left back, striker, and a right winger, and maybe a centre mid if I want to be greedy. If I'm being honest, I think a right back is a position that some people are now beginning to identify as well that could do with more competition. Connor, does McKenna do anything for you? Is it a position that you would prioritise in January?
No, I think it's kind of reeks of lack of ambition, if I'm honest. It's kind of like it kind of strikes me as the kind of sign that we've seen under Neil Lennon a couple of seasons ago. You know, it's kind of just got that feel about it to me. I don't really rate him that highly. I don't watch much Nottingham Forest, but I've seen him for Scotland, and I'm not that impressed. You know, he's not a regular starter. I don't think it's a position we need to look at. I mean, Scales just came in and been a bit of a revelation. Navrocki looks to be settling in okay, and Cameron Carter-Vickers will hopefully be back.
It's a bigger threat for us in opposition box than all the current centre backs.
Yes.
Mate, it doesn't matter. We could have about fucking.
What's it about? What do you mean?
We could have that, mate. We could have the Harlem Globetrotters in the opposition box. We're not scoring for set pieces.
We're
cursed, mate. We're cursed, mate.
Well, we scored
We've
one
no fucking players who can take set pieces anyway. No any players who can take set pieces anyway. Lewis Palm was meant to be a set piece specialist, and he's been absolutely honking at them. I mean, every game he fires about 2 or 3 of them at the fucking side then. You know, it doesn't matter.
Are we not claiming the Bernardo one from the derby as a goal off a corner? It was a second goal. It was a second goal from a corner.
What an assist by Seema. What an assist. But in my opinion, I'd be prioritising left back. By God, left back. I know that Greg Taylor scored a volley against 10 man St Mirren, and knew the wee warrior. I seen the wee warrior. You're like, fuck me. You're like, he's one of those players that, you know, he has stinking for games upon games, defensive frailties, especially in Champions League and stuff like that. And then he scores a goal against shite Scottish opposition, or has a couple of good games against the Hammer Throws up here and doesn't embarrass himself. And he doesn't get appreciated enough. There's a reason why before Ange Postecoglou came in, we were wanting rid of him, because he's not good enough. There's a reason why he is one of the only, defensive players who just runs into the midfield, being an inverted fullback. Johnson doesn't do it, or Alson doesn't do it when he plays, because that's the only kind of position, that's the only way he can kind of affect the game, really. So he's not good enough. We need to improve on him. And I've been saying that for years. I think we do need another striker, obviously, with Kyogo being the only really recognised option there right now. I think that needs done ASAP, because if he gets injured and, it's getting near the end of the window, we're up shit creek with a paddle. We need another right winger. I think Maeda's boat is rapidly sinking. I think I like him. I really do like him. He's a personable guy. He's worked great. He works so
good
hard.
Good luck for a night out, Connor. He's a good luck for a night out.
He would be. But he's not got what we're needing
right,
in that position. No, look, there's a reason why he's played as a fucking striker in Japan and for the Japan.
There's a reason why he gets his called up to Japan overplayable because he plays a certain style for a certain type of manager.
I can't do that.
Listen, I am one of his biggest supporters.
Fans? Yes, you
I
are.
love him, mate.
You do.
You're my Yeda fanboy.
You do, man.
You're my Yeda fanboy, David.
My Dyson t-shirt underneath my whole communion t-shirt. Listen, but I was saying to Phil the other night, it's getting harder and harder to defend him. Great goalie. Loved his goal the other night. It wasn't for him.
It was lucky he scored it, by the way. Didn't he? It was quite lucky that the keeper fucked it up.
Hit the target, mate. He hit the target. He beat the
Keeper could have saved that. I've seen them save that 100 times. Mate,
He saved a lot better. Listen, he saved a lot better chances.
Vintage Dyson Maeda takes a heavy
Oh,
touch.
yeah.
It still bounces in his path.
But he's not. For me, I've been saying for a while. Like, he's not a right winger. If you're not going to play him if you're not going to play him on the left, I don't like you to play him at all because he's not. He looks so uncomfortable on that right hand side. He looks awkward on both sides. I mean, but I mean, there's a reason he's getting picked for that Japanese national side ahead of Kyogo because he fits a certain style for that particular manager. There are attributes there to be taken advantage of with having a Dyson Maeda in the team. What he does well, he does well. What he does very poorly, he does fucking very poorly. But but yes, I'm with you though, Connor. We do need another right winger.
Do we need to look at left wing as well? Because Palma's he's a bit
his numbers hide it. I think
I know, but that's you're saying his numbers hide it. They're not, amplifying it. They're hiding some of the deficiencies, which
there's definitely work to be had in this game, Phil. But we've just ran over an hour. There's plenty of other shows to come this week, including the return of the Sunday Blether.
Yes.
Again, and it's been a whole month. I know. Listen.
I've missed you.
I know. Again. You're so cute, mate. Anyway. Before we get carried away, just want to thank everybody for joining us on this. Seeing if we got 156 here live. Thank you. Don't know why. But
more earlier than usual as well. Aye, no play. Good stuff, folks.
So I always appreciate you joining us. It's always a good laugh. Don't take yourself too seriously. This is all just a bit of fun. We're anything but professionals, but we do try our best to keep you all entertained on a Thursday night. We will have the judge back next week, I'm sure, ready to tear up trees and tear heads off bodies and not everything else that the judge likes to bring to the table. Of course, we'll hopefully have Boise back soon as well. Right, guys, no Friday feeling tomorrow.
No game to preview this weekend, so
so get your and of course there'll be nothing on Saturday, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of gossip, rumours, hearsay of everything Celtic to talk about.
And meltdowns.
Yeah. What will Sunday bring?
We'll find it then.
I know.
We shall see you on Sunday. Thank you, guys. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks Connor. Thanks Jiggy.
God bless Willie Collum.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.